Now, if you locked into this podcast, the other day we spoke about Jeremy Grant, and I said I want to see him on the Bulls. BJ said I want to see him on the Hawks. And then 24 hours later, 48 hours later, all the media outlets started reporting Jeremy Grant trade. A lot of them talking very similar to what we were saying. Now, I'm not saying, whoop, my headphones almost came
I'm not saying, but I'm saying.
I'm not
what a
saying,
coincidence.
I'm not saying it, but somebody said it, innit? Somebody said it. Yeah, I'm not saying it was me, but somebody said it. What a coincidence. Anyway, the Atlanta Hawks, they need to make a move because they're terrible right now. Now, a fan tweeted me the other day. They said, I think they commented on a YouTube video or something. They said, listen, I'm not worried about the Hawks. They're going to make a second half charge for the playoffs like they did last year. But the difference between this year and last year is they're not going to change their coach, or they could. But last year, they got rid of Lloyd Pierce and brought in Nate McMillan, and that was the spark plug that really changed things around for that team. I don't see that happening again this year. So they need to make some sort of change. And if you're not going to change coach, what can you change? You're going to have to change the personnel and the players. Danilo Gallinari, he's realistically not going to stick around after this season because only $5 million of his $90 million is guaranteed for next season, as we spoke about previously. Cam Reddish, are they going to be able to pay Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter and then eventually Onyeka Okongwu whilst they've just paid John Collins and just paid Trae Young and Clint Capella? I don't think that financially that's going to work. So that's why if you missed the last episode, those guys are going to have to get moved. Now, BJ spoke about, if you want to go back and listen to episode 2 or 3 of this podcast, BJ spoke about them trading for Jeremy Grant of the Detroit Pistons. Another name that's floated about is Harrison Barnes of the Sacramento Kings. But BJ, I want to ask you, you've been on a variety of teams in your career, some very successful, some that haven't been as successful as the others. What do you make of this situation where you've got such high expectations? You've been to the conference finals, you took it out the Sixers who, everyone was expecting to be there. You've taken them out. That was after you went to Madison Square Garden and beat up the Knicks, who were the 4th seed and you were the 5th seed. And now this season, you're just not quite living up to the expectations. What's your take on it?
We're still referring to the Atlanta Hawks, correct?
Yes.
Well, what I see with the Atlanta Hawks and with teams like this, it's very difficult, Mo, to play when there's expectations. It's very difficult because it requires you to play the game and take on the other team's best punch. It's a little different. The Hawks, they snuck up on everyone last year. And they come into an arena and you go, oh, we're playing the Hawks tonight. Okay, no big deal. And, we didn't play because we just didn't play well that night or we weren't ready or whatever. But now the Hawks are coming into town and you're like, this team was in the conference finals? Oh, man, let me get ready. Now, the one thing that I see that's missing from last year to this year is the following. When Nate McMillan took over, he provided them stability and he gave them leadership. He held them, I thought, accountable. Because I said this last year, Mo, and I'm going to say it again. Very rarely do you see a team do a 180. They went from a rebuild type scenario to suddenly they wanted to win. That's why they got, I can't think of, what's the coach's name that they fired last year?
Lloyd Pierce.
Lloyd Pierce. They got rid of Lloyd Pierce. Lloyd Pierce was brought there to rebuild and develop.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly we went into, we want to win mode. Like when did that happen? Okay. But I give Nate McMillan credit. Nate McMillan came in, held everyone accountable. Nate is a no-nonsense guy. And that team responded to his leadership style. Now, that only works for so long, Mo, if you're going to have a team that's going to have sustained excellence or have the ability to win over a course of 2 or 3 or 4 seasons. You have to have leadership from within. The one thing, Mo, I haven't seen from this.
I'm honored. Yeah. NBA coach.
I know. It's like I'm talking to Nate McMillan. Nate is one of my guys. The one thing that I haven't seen from this team is they haven't had what I would call superior or excellent leadership from within. And when I mean from within the team, Trae Young puts up incredible numbers.
He's still young though. No pun intended.
He's still, yeah. He's still young. Then you have, all of the other young players, Collins, so forth and so on. Now it's time for one of these young players to step up to a leadership role. That's what I see missing with this group. They have excellent talent. And I think that's the frustrating thing about watching this Atlanta team right now, because you're looking at their talent. They're deep. They're not only talented, they're like too deep at every position.
Yeah.
But the one thing that's missing is leadership.
The GM,
and I think one of those players are going to have to step up if they're going to turn this thing around, because you can't keep asking your coach to coach them and be the leader, because the players also have to take some responsibility and hold themselves accountable. And I think that's what's missing right now as I watch this Atlanta Hawk team.
Well, their GM, Travis Schlenk, says that they've got the second best offense in the NBA, but he doesn't know where to stand with regard to their defense. And I think it's similar to what we've spoken about with Damian Lillard and comparing him to Stephen Curry. For me, I'm looking at Trae Young. Even if you're not going to be the leader, you have to play some level of defense. You can't be getting beaten at the point of attack so easily in the way that he is. I know he's going to come and do the thing on the offensive end, but it all starts with defense and effort on the defensive side of the ball. And that's all got to start at Trae Young, because teams are realizing that they're going to go at him when he's on defense, they're going to go at Trae Young. So he needs to look at what Steph's done in Golden State to really improve as a defender. I know he's got the physical limitations of being 6'1" or 6 foot or however tall you want to call him. But, I think that's going to be an issue. Or either than that, you've got to find a backcourt partner that you can pair him with that could take on those hard assignments. Because this year, as great as Bogdanović was last season, this season he's not lived up to, I think, what everyone expected him to, the level of play that people expected him to play at. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Hawks. But what's going to be even more interesting than that? Do you know what's going to be more interesting than that, BJ?
What's that?
Tomorrow's episode of the podcast. So make sure you guys at home subscribe, follow, leave a review. You know the segue, because our time is up, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have enjoyed another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast. It's Friday tomorrow. Get ready. The weekend's almost here. But me and BJ are going to be rocking with you tomorrow again.
Hey. I got one thing to say. One thing we didn't say. Tomorrow, hopefully, we will be talking about the return of Klay Thompson.
Yes, sir. I'm excited. We thought I was excited for Kyrie. Wait till you see how excited I am for Klay, because those three back on the court, Draymond, Steph, and Klay Thompson together, scary hours. The league needs to be put on notice. I'm very glad we didn't get to talk about the Celtics losing to the San Antonio Spurs. So till tomorrow, my people, have a great day and make sure you get buckets, unlike the Boston Celtics.